All right.
Okay, what were you saying? Sorry. He was just
No, it's worth it. I think you really
Okay, that's set up. What did I do with my... Oh, I think Courtney took it. Let's check my speakers. Sound is in.
No, it's really cool. So what I'm gonna do is it is up now. I'm just going to join that Zoom.
That's very cute.
Okay. Yeah, we got Zoom up, so we're good.
You guys ready to get going?
Yep, Zoom is working.
I'll stay in the back and direct anybody if they come in, but I think we're ready to go.
Awesome, thank you. Okay.
All right. Look at you.
Look at me. This is a rare.
Date night. Oh man. That hasn't happened yet.
Yeah, sorry it's not more exciting.
Crayons and markers and paper. That's all we need.
I mean, we got it set up.
At least you guys aren't doing this on another Devo night, so thank you. Appreciate that.
You know,
Going right now? No, but their last one was on the Devo bike parade, and I was giving them,
Oh, it was, yeah.
giving them a little,
Giving them heck.
giving them heck, you know.
Was it the same night as the Suckers?
No, it was the
Halloween,
Halloween
bike parade, yeah.
break parade.
Let's get started. Almost 5:20. I think this is it. What a great facility. First off, thanks for coming out. Again, last time, quick show of hands here at our previous meeting. Oh, everybody, great. Who took the survey? Almost everybody. Very good. Thanks for your engagement. I'm John Nefstad. I'm with Fair and Peers, helping out the city and the team on Junction Street. So we're going to do just the, yep, there we go. Not make so much noise with the mic. We're going to do like 15 or 20 minutes here in this room. And as you saw on the way in, we do have boards set up out in the foyer, and then two big plots of the corridor with our proposal there, with our concept. And to be honest, we really think that's going to be, we want to spend most of our time in the hallway or in the foyer out there, having some great conversations with everyone. So we'll do this presentation, have a little bit of Q&A in here, and scoot out to the hallway. Oops. You need to wait for Zoom to get set up?
No, we're good.
no, we're
We're
good.
good? Okay. So we do have this on Zoom too. I know we're supposed to announce that. So anyway, we'll go till 7 o'clock as far as having conversations out in the foyer out front. So, next slide. Great. We showed this the last time, I believe, so this is kind of some repeat in terms of where we are. We've looked at some existing conditions as best we can, and you'll see some boards out in front that you saw before. What we've been working on as a team before we met you the first time, and since then as well, is this is the concept development phase, and I want to emphasize that throughout this evening. This is the concept phase. This is not ready for construction, but we think we're pretty darn close, to be honest. So, but you know the project limits and some of the background there, so you can see where we are with the star tonight. So next slide. So yeah, why we're here tonight. We listened to you. We got great feedback. We had a survey. Now we've incorporated that. We've also brought our expertise to bear on this, and we've combined that into the proposed concept. Now tonight, while we have a preferred concept, there are opportunities for us to hear more from you. Maybe we missed something here or there or the other. But again, I also want to, again, go through this several times. This is at the concept level. Steve and Holden, our partners in this project, will be taking the comments tonight as appropriate and making adjustments into a design package. Next. Okay, that was we got to come here and the leaves were changing last time. It's a beautiful, beautiful street. So what we heard. We had, we had 58, but we had over 55 people at our meeting last time across the street at the church, which was a great turnout. It was very engaged. We like it when people come and talk. We clearly heard that speeding is clearly a big issue. And we've been out driving this quite a few times, and especially coming down here from the county, it's a problem, and we certainly recognize that. We also heard about the crosswalks, both here at the school area and up the corridor towards the park. We've heard from internally, not just city staff, but also from some of you, that whatever is done, we have to be thinking about maintenance, especially snow, not just snow plowing and clearing, but also snow storage. So we'll see how we've thought through that as well. Clearly, multimodal facilities, bicycles, pedestrians, families, kids, everybody, all of you out there, up and down the corridor, across the corridor, accessing the park, accessing the school, etc. So that's obviously a huge reason why we're here. And with any project such as this, when we transform a corridor, sometimes I call it Junction Street 2.0, but when we transform a corridor, there are always going to be trade-offs. It's never going to be a one-for-one. There's always going to be some trade-offs, and you'll see that as we go through some details out on the boards, on the scroll plots in the hallway. So you see some of the things we heard. So the summary, a little board over there on the right side of the slide. Lots of good opinions, lots of good thoughts that we incorporated. Next slide, please. It's important things we didn't really hear much of, and so we'll go to what we didn't really hear a lot of. No one said, we're good. This has been discussed, I think, at the community level, and various, definitely this team have heard about the need for change for quite some time. This, again, I think the speeding is clearly, people are just, you all as a community, want some change. So we didn't really hear, I came here to the meeting tonight to tell you not to do anything. Parking hasn't been there for a while, and requests for replacement have been rare. I know there have been some thoughts, and we're going to some thoughts on that, but it wasn't this overwhelming, bring back parking, bring back parking. And also, as far as traffic, some of the basics of traffic, no one said, gee, can we make this bigger and wider for more cars? Not, might sound like, well, of course not, but it's important that we communicate back to what we didn't hear. So we did hear that the travel lanes, they're about right. It doesn't get terribly crowded except for about 20 minutes here by the school area. And so we're good on terms of the traditional roadway capacity. Next slide, please. Good show of hands earlier as far as the survey. We put the survey out there. We had some alternatives. So let's talk about what we heard. 122. That's great. A great response. We feel really good about the result, the quantity and quality of the feedback we got from everybody. And again, we put out 4 alternatives. You'll probably remember those, so we can kind of go through those now, actually. But again, 122 is a great number. So thanks to everybody for doing that and spreading the word. This is alternative 1, and we don't need to go through all the pros and cons because I think everybody saw that when they did the survey. If you'd like to, we certainly can. But this is pretty, I think this didn't get a terrible lot of support because it's kind of focuses traffic right there in the travel lanes, and the edges are, I guess I'd use the word kind of abrupt. So sidewalks, and they're not terribly wide sidewalks. All cyclists of all skill levels probably think they need to go right in the street, and we don't want to encourage that right in the street. So this didn't get a lot of support. Next one, number 2, certainly did, and we're going to talk about that. Again, dedicated, separated bicycle facility. It's two lanes. A lot of this is 12 feet on the multi-use path on the right, on the east, and it's very good for just about all users. If you're really hardcore road cyclist and you go fast, you probably wouldn't be using that. You'd be on the road like you do today, and like the person over there on the left. So we would strike that and make sure we accommodate all the driveways. We note all the driveways are intact. And then you'll see out in the hall, in the foyer, we'll have some additional things in the median to really address some of the speed and some of the visual, especially as you look south, the visual tangent that we see, we want to break up. So we'll go into some of those details outside. So this is alternative 2. Alternative 3, somewhat similar, but it's you can see the cycle tracks there on the other side. It was close between 2 and 3. Drawbacks is just, I think maintenance is probably a little bit more difficult because of the raised curve, and you got to drop in as far as sweeping or plowing, clearing it out, etc. But a lot of the same concept, a lot of the same idea. And by the way, the travel lanes are going to be narrow on all of these. So we're down to 11-foot travel lanes, which does help with the speeding and the perception of what you have today. So reality and perception. So, but again, it's sidewalks, driveways are accommodated, trees are generally untouched by and large, which is important. As we came out here last fall, beautiful tree canopies, and I think that's important that's maintained. Last alternative, it's just a lot. Perception a little bit wider. This didn't get a lot of support, but it does. You'll see the drawback on the right there, the last bullet, I think is pretty important too. Physical separation for the uphill cycling. And again, when we talk about uphill cycling, we're really in the bigger picture of things. We're connecting the school on the east side with the park, which is also on the east side. So we think it's important to have a nice wide multi-use facility that connects those uses that bounds the corridor. So this didn't really check that box very well, to be honest. Next, so these are the results of the polling. You notice I don't like to use the word voting, it's more preferences. So these are really the preferences that people, the 155 of you put out there. And this is kind of the ranked choice, ranked choice voting lately, or preferences. Shouldn't use the word voting. So you'll see alternative 3 was really close, but alternative 2 is what we're going to talk about mostly throughout the rest of the evening tonight. As far as the combined first and second choices was alternative 2, or is alternative 2. So with that, yes, I let the cat out of the bag on that one. What we're recommending, alternative 2, back to that. And again, the sidewalk is 5 feet throughout most of the corridor on the west side, traveling 11 feet, I mentioned that before. We have a gutter pan and a bit of a median before we get to the 12-foot multi-use path on the east side from the school, well, actually on the second overlay, but I don't go over yet. As we get to the bend, and you'll see outside, we've got some additional decisions to make and some concepts to figure out as we get closer to the park. But this is the main cross section right here that you see. And again, all driveways are accounted for. As far as how it looks for you as residents, it'll be basically the same. So next slide. So why this? Why do we come up with this? Why do we think this is the way to go? It's consistent with the city's complete streets policy, and it is important to remember one of the foundational plans as far as why we're here, why we're even looking at this corridor, because there's policy for it to support it. Aligns with the goals, reduce speeding, crossing distances for the pedestrians as they cross, especially the kids. And we think it's going to be generally a safer corridor for all users. It aligns very nicely with the majority of things we heard from you. Is it perfect? Is it? No, but it's pretty darn close in terms of many projects we've been involved with around the West. What we think going into after looking at this, looking at the data, seeing the corridor, understanding the needs and the issues, and then having our feedback from both the survey and the meeting, the world lined up quite nicely, to be honest, and we're quite happy that came out that way. Maintenance, talked about that a little bit, the difference between alternative 2 and 3. This is clearly a simpler maintenance issue for city staff and probably for you as homeowners as well. And then I talked a little bit about the trees and utilities, because we're not widening things. We're really staying generally within the current footprint, I like to say, of the existing corridor. So we're getting a lot of good new stuff in there, and it's not going to be with like a runway or anything like that. So we're accomplishing quite a bit from what we heard, what we think it needs, and alignment with goals and policies, and we have a concept. Next. Oh. We kind of talked about this. You'll see some additional features of the corridor in the hallway. The visuals we saw up here, and also what you saw in the survey, did not include some of the things we're doing as far as traffic calming, some splitters in the middle, and some other attributes, signage, things like that we've identified outside. That I think you'll see makes a big difference in terms of speed and just the visual, breaking up the whole visual length of it. Added some courts and crossings. We are definitely coordinating with the school's redesign, especially pickup and drop off. We're not doing it in a vacuum, the two projects, but we are certainly talking with each other. We think our concept is very complementary with the school's redesign and vice versa. And we've made sure that we think this through all the way down to second. There's a lot of kids stay on the east side of the road, they're out of school, and coming and going, and a lot of school age traffic, pedestrian traffic, all the way down to second. So we're making sure that we have a good, safe facility on the east side, well, both sides, but a wider side on the east side to accommodate the kids, everybody leaving school and going down towards town. Next. So, back to why we're here, what we're doing. We want to talk with you more outside. Again, concept level. Steve and his crew will take this to the next level for the next level of design. One of the reasons this is important, one of the big reasons it's important in terms of the schedule, is there are some pretty amazing grant funding opportunities the city will pursue, but to really be successful with grant opportunities, the powers that be who have control those purse strings like to have a fairly robust, well thought through design and costs. Not too many agencies say, sure, we'll give you a check, but we're not sure. But you're not even sure how much this costs. So that's why we think that's why we want to take this from design to a deeper design level throughout the spring, winter and spring, as the city pursues various funding programs to help offset some of the costs. And then last, you'll see the goal is to be out for bid to a contractor the latter part of 2024, next year. So, let's move on with next steps. So, we've got a little bit of time for some Q&A. And we can share the microphone, however you want to do that. Again, I want to emphasize that we love to have the conversations over the details out in the hall if you like, but certainly entertain some questions from the bigger group, since we're all gathered here right now as well. Yes.
It looks to me like you've addressed the straightaway of approximately Clovis or Virginia out to the Dollar Mountain Park. But I don't see whereas you have created any difference in I live across the street from Bella. I don't see where you've done anything anticipating what the new problems are going to be with the redesign of Miller, nor the stretch that is a Hollywood type sidewalk on that side of the road, which precludes the kids from, number one, you can't keep it free of snow and ice with the street following that direction. It precludes the kids from being able to walk up and down the avenue on that side of the road. I'm a little concerned that you're spending $2 million to address the straightaway. I don't really see where you've encompassed from West 2nd Avenue up to Clovis, I'm going to say.
Understandable, given what we've shown. I can understand where you're coming from on that. That's where I think we do have quite a few attributes to the concept that we can talk with you about on the tables outside, that we have included quite a few things that aren't shown here. So we would...
the city does have a 10-foot easement on the opposite side of the road here, which they have never utilized.
I think we want to show you what we're talking about, because I hear what you're saying. You haven't seen that. We just addressed the straightaway, and that you're right in terms of what we're showing in this presentation. But we very much have addressed numerous things as we get towards the school.
If I can
I can kind of speak to that a little bit as well. So once we get past the conceptual design, that's when we can really start to talk about the fine detail of the existing sidewalk on the other side that may not be up to snuff. We haven't really talked about that, but part of the project will also be making sure that the sidewalk on the other side, where there won't be a shared use path, will be updated to be wider sections than it can be, also to have, you know, straight edge curb instead of, or curb and gutter. And we can talk a little bit more about snowplow and with, you know, with the narrowing of the road, how is snowplow going to work? And this is a big conversation that we're having citywide on how to do this differently. So that's something that we will definitely continue to have conversations about, and we hear your concerns on that. So, Robin.
So, right, well, you started out by saying you got the message, speeding is the big issue. And then you said parking wasn't brought up on it. And it's my understanding that maybe the number one traffic calming, inexpensive use in the street is to allow parking on the street. So if you were to tell people the number one speeding calm is to let parked cars be on the street, I think most people would say, go for it, let's get our cars back, because that's when the trouble really started. When the snow plowed, when Levi wanted the streets plowed. But right now, there's a bicycle lane on both sides of Junction. There's several crosswalks, and I think 3 to 4 wildlife crosswalks, and none of it is slowing anybody down.
Yeah, real quick, there's one crosswalk right now, Robin. That's painted.
Right there in that picture.
Yeah. But as far as the parked cars, so a great example is West Park Avenue. They have parking, and yet they have a lot of speeding, which we're now have a project set for next year, and we're gonna go out there to redesign that roadway, even though they have parking, and that road's actually a lot narrower than Junction, and yet they still have speeding concerns. So I would push back on this logic that parking slows cars down, but also in this terms, we're doing multiple things here. We're also trying to make sure that we have safe pedestrian and bicycle facilities to get folks up there, but we're also still narrowing that roadway with vertical curb, and then we have the lateral deflection that we've talked about and that John pointed out. And, you know, to the reference of the $2 million, we don't have a cost yet on this. So jumping a little bit ahead and making assumptions on cost. But also, you know, that's where a lot of these grants that we're looking at, Safe Routes to School and other grants, are helpful for paying for a large portion or some of this project. And so that's another thing that we're taking a look at. But John,
So, Devin, on West Acton, I'm sure.
West Park Ave.
What is it?
West Park Avenue.
Is that what you're talking about? Where they have
Yes.
do they go like 55 on West Park? You know, really,
We have people going
that's
40 on
what
West Park.
we deal with here. I mean, this is a huge issue. It's high speed.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, everybody's gonna take their lives in their hands using a crosswalk. I don't get that slows traffic.
I hear you on the parked cars. I think there's other tools in our toolbox that I think are gonna be more effective than parked cars. In addition, parked cars, people opening doors in a bicycle lane with parked cars is a proven safety hazard, especially given the fact that we're a fairly youngish bunch of cyclists, and there's special training that goes on in some parts of the world, but you know, who checks their rearview mirror when they open the car door to make sure a cyclist isn't coming? And hopefully some people of us do. But it's not the silver bullet, I'm afraid. We don't think on this board. Hear you, but I think the things that we're talking about, and when you see the things that we're looking at that aren't really shown in this presentation in terms of how it's going to look different, especially as you go down it from the hill, as you go to the south, we're pretty confident it's going to change. It's going to be different.
I think there's one other thing to consider, again, is we're in Miller Middle School right now, there's only so much room within the footprint of the road, and it's a built-up corridor. So, for instance, if obviously kids getting to school safely and having somewhere where they feel safe and riding their bike, walking, so this 12-foot use path provides that. If we were to add parking back in the whole corridor, all of a sudden you lose that space that we're dedicating towards a bike lane, which is what a lot of the public wants, so they can get their kids to and from school safely. So I just wanted to point that out. There is only so much room.
Thanks, Steve. Remember, that's another way of saying trade-offs, when we talked about the word trade-offs. And we don't want to have a lot of impacts to your yards and your trees, and so that's where we are.
So this one puts the bikes back in the road.
No, this puts the bikes on the multi-use or shared use path, and it's going to be.
According to your design, the bicycle in the
No, so those are called churros, and what this is showing is that, I mean, in the state of Colorado, a bicyclist is allowed to ride on the road no matter, I mean, there's a few circumstances in which they can't ride on the road, but essentially bikes are allowed on the road. And so what this is showing is if somebody wants to go fast, like for example, just a road cyclist that is out training, they can still ride in the road, and that's like perfectly legal and fine. And we'll put out churros to just remind cars and vehicles that they are allowed to be out on the road. However, the reason why we have also bikes shown, or I guess right now we only have pedestrians shown on the multi-use shared path, but we do have it delineated showing that there's two sides similar to the Animas River Trail, so that bicyclists go one direction, going north, you know, like directional bound traffic. But bicyclists are allowed on the shared use path, and we also designed it to be wider because we know that there will be kids, bicyclists, you know, the multi-use on that path. So to improve safety, it is wider than our normal
So we
path.
want to make sure the speeds are accommodated, you know, those who are at the lower, gentler speeds, more family-oriented, to be honest, on that shared use path. The hardcore, biker crowd, no one can control, you know, we're not going to control that, and we should accommodate that, and that's what the sheriffs are for. They're going to be in the road, and that's great.
second part, who maintains this path?
Yeah, that's a great question. We actually have that question online. So we've already talked to the Parks and Rec Department. Fortunately, the city is pretty good at maintaining this style. So that would be the Parks and Rec that would plow that when a storm comes through, so it would not be up to the homeowner. There's also, you'll see out there, there's a little bit of buffer space to kind of help with the snow plowing from both the road and from the trail. So a lot of times when it's being plowed on the shared use path, it can go into folks' yards, and then we can accommodate the snow from the street into a buffer to kind of accommodate that.
Third question, you mentioned about a splitter or something, so is that a concrete medium? Okay, so please take note of Columbine. That road, we made it better for public walking, and they put all these bump outs, but it's basically with snow, it's a one-lane road. And
So-
their parking sucks, and it's really bad down that road. Literally, you dive in and out of cars to get your kids to meet at school.
Yeah, and just so everybody online hears, the question was regarding the medians, and those are going to be raised vertical medians in the center. So they're not going to be on the sides. They're going to be in the center, a lot easier to plow and make sure that those lanes are taken care of.
And we made sure that all the driveways and all the cross streets are accounted for with those raised medians in the middle too. So everybody can make their turns in, out, back, and all the movements have been thought through. But we want to make sure you're comfortable with all outside.
I have a question, having watched Columbine be done also. The driveways on Columbine are dipped down, and so they're just filled with ice all winter, so most of the children are not walking in the sidewalks, they're walking in the road. I have a family member that lives up Columbine, and I live on Bacchus, and I can't walk on these sidewalks. What are you doing to make sure that doesn't happen on this road? Because we don't like being forced into the road when there's a huge project. And we really made some mistakes, especially with the dips at the end of the driveways, and the water pools up, and there's people, are having a hard time because probably 6 months out of the year, there's water or ice filled up there that can't be controlled.
Same with the handicap entrances to
Yeah.
the sidewalk, it's all dipped, so that's pure ice, they don't use it. It's a waste of money.
So the question was about basically the interface between the new the new sidewalk sections and driveways. And I think I know personally that there's also been some concern with sidewalks leading up to houses. And so the report from neighborhood and folks over there is that water and ice has been able to pull up in some of the lower sections as well as at the curb ramps. So I guess in response to that, you know, we'll work with the engineering team. You know, it's kind of one of those, we learn as we go, and we try to make sure that a mistake that happened on another project doesn't happen again. So that's definitely something we'll take a look at. And then also, as far as curb ramps go, that is something citywide we're trying to figure out. I mean, that's not just an issue on Columbine, that's an issue citywide. I walk with my son to the transit stop, and I have to carry him the whole way because he can't walk it because there's snow piles right on the curb ramps. So that's a citywide issue that we are trying to figure out. Yeah, definitely take note of that.
Thank you.
I just want to say thank you. You guys have done a great job for presenting this and taking our feedback. I see a number of things that were addressed. So honestly, thank you so much. I'm just curious on the bike path. It almost looks like it comes up, so the bike path's the same, or not the bike path, but the pedestrian path. Does that stay the same level through the streets as you turn in, or does it kind of dip down?
You mean that driveways?
Yeah, like where the green is. Yeah, like does that? It almost looks like it comes up. What are you guys thinking there?
It's a case by case on that specific road and that connection. It's going to be similar to, and Steve, you can kind of fill this in, but I would imagine similar to 4ADA. You know, so right there, it usually dips down where you go across a cross street.
Yep.
And then, you know, driveways, it will be dependent on that driveway.
Right, well, so there, right now, any design is a 3-foot median, next to the 12-foot path. So we'll be able to use that to, slope up to the sidewalk as much as we can. We probably will have to lower it a little bit, to make up that difference, because usually you need a 5-foot landscape strip to make up the 6-inch curb height, and stay within 12% so people's cars aren't dragging. So here we have 3, so we'll be able to make up 60% of it, but the other, 2 inch or 2 will have to get the path a little bit. And I will say on Columbine, that road is very flat. It's about a 0.5% slope, and that, I think that's why you see a lot of the issues you do on Columbine, is because the slope is so flat. So I think we have a little more grade, and hopefully it won't be as much of an issue.
Good question. You were gonna, yeah, go ahead.
Okay, well, so is each driveway gonna have those lovely green lines? Or, I mean, I can see, I live on that side, and so I'm gonna be coming out that driveway, sometimes I back out, blah, 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 I'm just a little, curious, I mean, I don't wanna hit anybody.
Fair. So the green lines right now are actually proposed on cross streets, not driveways.
Great, that's not a driveway,
Yeah.
okay.
And we're gonna explore also, it's not just cars, but the bicycles and pedestrians also have to obey basic rules of traffic as well, so.
We don't
We'll
use cyclists.
We'll explore some signage in terms of, as they approach major, cross streets. But there's, you need to pay attention as well.
And, also on that note, right now, most people back out over sidewalks, where pedestrians are already walking and where bicyclists usually on kids ride already. So it's not really changing existing conditions in that.
I do not have a sidewalk in front of my house.
Oh, well, citywide, that's pretty common. Nationwide, that's fairly.
Okay,
Yeah,
so I'll
just-
just have to train myself, okay?
Yeah.
So that was my question. Driveways intersecting with the pet areas is really dangerous. So is there going to be, do you guys have that in mind, to have signage, or do folks have to cut their bushes back, or how is that going to be addressed for kids and cyclists to feel safe intersecting with driveways?
Yeah, we can take a look at visibility. In some circumstances, if the bush is on somebody else's property, that's kind of their own. This is a little bit different. If it's a sight triangle at an intersection, like we can enforce that sign triangle a little bit better when it's on private property. When it's a driveway sight triangle, it can be somewhat a little bit more difficult to enforce that.
Is there such a thing as speed limits for bikes?
There is actually. The Animas River Trail technically has a speed limit, which is 10.
And it's posted.
No, it's not posted. Yeah.
So is there an option for more signage for, cars, please yield, cyclists, pedals, please be cautious?
So signage fatigue is an issue, and especially putting a signage up on a driveway, I don't know how helpful that would be to folks. We can research and see what great philosopher minds out there have come up with, and see what's out there, but unless John
Well, I know it's definitely an issue. For example, there's a project very similar to this, close to me. And right now, there's a time of year where people, you start your car, if you don't have a garage, your windows are frosted in the morning. And you want to, these are scary situations, for sure. You're backing out, you feel like scraping your windows, and, but to Devin's point, a lot of you are doing that already as far as crossing sidewalks, and or bike lanes, the current bike lanes there today. So we don't think it's going to be a net big increase in actual usage. We're getting the users in a better place.
Do you think they'll be less cautious though, because they're
the drivers, like the people in driveways?
like
Oh, the cyclists will be more complacent possibly?
yeah.
I don't think so, because there will be some vertical differences that, you'll see in the driveways. That's stuff we're gonna continue to explore and refine as we get through final design, but it's a very good point, as we move forward. Oh, one more that I'd like to, it's almost 6 o'clock, and I'd like to spend the balance of the time to gather up.
Has there been any consideration for making a more permanent path through Miller Middle School to get pedestrians and cyclists off the main road, so we don't have to use that section in front of Miller?
Yeah, you're talking about the Miller cut through that everybody uses back off of 28th Street.
Right, yeah.
So that is on Miller property, and so that's kind of really up to Durango 9R, and there is a lot of concern with having folks during the day when school is in session coming back through there, since there's students, and that's it's more of a school thing. There has been conversations. We have it shown on the multimodal transportation plan as a well-known connection. And with the recent construction, we've worked with Miller, and they've maintained it and kept it open. Unfortunately, it is really up to the school district and their level of comfortability with it. So we'll continue having those conversations, and they're aware that a lot of folks in the community use it. It's just kind of that balance for their safety protocols and everything.
And with that, though, great conversation. Thank you for the questions. Let's dive into some details if everybody would like to. We've got another hour. We have stickies, markers. I hope everybody signed in. We're all here. 6 or 7 of us are here to help facilitate questions as we hunker over the scroll plots out front.
Yeah, and to folks that didn't see it when you came in, back here off on the left, we have 2 big tables with big roll plots showing this in higher detail so that you can see every little feature that we're talking about. Granted, it's still conceptual, it's not going to be that detailed, but we can kind of point out things if you have questions and you can see it a little bit better.
Sorry, I'm a little late on the draw here, but the situation is similar to Florida Road. So there is quite a few sections of Florida Road with a lot of driveways. As far as I know, and Devin, you could correct me if I'm wrong, but I haven't heard of a lot of accidents or people hitting people on bicycles on that shared use path section that goes through, basically from, I guess it would be from, is that Macho's up there, all the way down to, say, Colorado Avenue. There's a fair amount of driveways that do cross Florida Road shared use path as well, so I just want to point that out.
Something that I just had come to mind though, with shared use math park markings, we do have an opportunity there, so that's something we can look at just putting markings on the actual shared use path, driveway ahead, and that would be more helpful for the bicyclists and pedestrians. And I think that would be a route that we could go a lot better than putting up actual vertical signage. So that's something we can kind of investigate more.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, the vertical signs, that's more for businesses, like I've seen hotels, fast food that have those crossings, which we already more awareness, but pavement markers would be great. So, but thanks everybody, let's.
Yeah, I'm gonna end it.
Well, so I'm interested to see